At this time, we're prepared to call Lisa Marie Jensen.
Very well. If you want to call your rebuttal witness, then we'll have that witness brought in and sworn.
Solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Yes. Okay.
If you have the mic, it's a little bit weird. Right here.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, Ms. Jensen's been sworn. Before we have further testimony on rebuttal, Mr. Wixom, I am going to inquire on the court's exclusionary order. Ma'am, have you observed any of the trial testimony that's occurred since this case started?
No, I have not.
Okay, have you talked to anyone else about any testimony they have given in trial?
No.
Okay, thanks for your responses. Mr. Wixom, if you'd like to inquire on direct, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, will you please state your full name for the record and spell it?
Lisa Marie Jensen, LisaMarieJensen.
Thank you. And can you please tell the jury, where is it that you live?
I live in Sugar Salem, Idaho.
And what do you do for a living?
I am an educator at Central Elementary
Okay. And where is that school at?
in Sugar Salem,
Yeah.
Sugar City.
Do you know a Tammy and an Emma Daybell?
Yes, I do.
Tell the jury how you know them.
I run our Title I department and I supervise paras, and I hired Emma as one of my paraprofessionals before she was hired as a third grade teacher. So we worked together, and Tammy Daybell was our librarian and computer specialist.
And I want to draw your attention back to 2019, particularly the beginning of the school year. During that time frame, was Tammy someone who you would regularly interact with or see at the school?
Yeah.
Can you explain what occasions you'd have in the line of your work to interact with her?
Yeah, we didn't, our jobs didn't align necessarily. She was the librarian. Many people often think, oh, you're the reading specialist, so you must work closely. But we just were mostly friends and colleagues at the school.
Did you see her do her work at the school?
Yeah.
How often would you see her doing her work?
A couple times a week.
Okay. And what kinds of things do you recall observing her do while she was working?
She ran our library. She did our computer specialist. She was our go-to if there was something that needed to be done and we didn't know who to do it. Tammy was our girl.
Did you have a chance to observe any physical activities that she did in her work?
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. It's going beyond the scope.
Overruled.
You may answer.
Will you repeat the question?
Did you have an opportunity to observe any physical activities that Tammy did at her work?
Just normal day-to-day physical activities, yes.
Could you describe some of those things to the jury, please?
As educators, we're just on our feet a lot. She was back and forth between the library and the computer lab. She also did recess duty, so she was just all over the school a lot. She was busy.
Overall, do you feel like you had the opportunity to make general observations about her health and wellness?
Sure.
What did you observe about Tammy?
About her health?
Yes, ma'am.
That she was well and healthy, and she strived to keep herself that way.
Judge, I'm going to object at this point without any additional foundation.
Overruled.
Any other observations about her health?
She was well.
Okay. You just used the word she strived to keep herself that way. Can you explain to the jury what you meant by that word?
Yeah, she, every day, even if she had on a dress, she would wear her tennis shoes. I loved that. She, she aimed to get steps in. She participated in exercise classes.
Judge, I'm going to object at this point without some additional foundation.
I'll sustain that.
You just mentioned something about steps in. Can you explain to the jury what was the observation that you made and when did you make it about seeing Tammy get her steps in?
I don't know when I would have made that observation, just in the time that I knew her, but she would wear a Fitbit. She exercised frequently.
Judge, I'm going to object at this point and move to strike. There's no foundation to support that.
It's overruled. You can cross on that, Mr. Pryor.
Did Tammy ever, particularly during that last few weeks before her passing, did she ever complain about being sick or feeling unwell?
No,
Do you remember her missing work at all?
no,
In the context of observing her do her work, the physical aspect, did you ever notice her to get tired or exhausted?
no,
Did she ever seem winded to you?
no.
Your Honor, at this time, I have a line of questioning that may involve an evidentiary issue. I think it can get resolved in a sidebar. I don't think it should be brought up in the presence of the jury, but may I ask to have a sidebar?
Yeah, we can have a quick sidebar, counsel. All right, in a sidebar, the court was shown a potential statement that counsel for the defense has been able to review. I don't want that statement published to the court in the objection, but Mr. Wixom, is the proffered statement going to be elicited through a question to this witness?
It would be, Your Honor, yes.
And Mr. Pryor, is there an objection to that proffered statement?
Judge, I do have an objection. It's not only hearsay, double hearsay. Judge, it's also improper impeachment.
Okay, Mr. Wixom, what would be your response, knowing that counsel has reviewed that as well as the court, without again referring to any specifics of the statement? What exception would the state argue would apply to have this not be a hearsay statement?
Certainly, Your Honor. In fact, the state takes the position that we don't need an exception because it's not being offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. It would be offered for the purposes explained on the sidebar. We certainly don't offer the particular statement or its substantive proof. It's contrary to what the state believes. We offer it as an evidentiary point that we think, frankly, is rebuttal to testimony given earlier.
All right, the court's considered this proposed statement and the hearsay rules. Looking at Rule 801C, the court would determine that for the purposes stated by the state, that it's not being offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted, that it isn't a hearsay statement. So for that reason, the objection's overruled and you can continue with your direct, Mr. Wixom.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, again, calling your attention to the time after Tammy died in 2019. Did Emma ever make a statement to you about why she believed or how she believed that her mother had passed?
Yes.
What did she say to you?
She said that it was related to a blood clot. That's what the doctors were suspecting.
And that was the reason she gave you for her mother's passing?
Yes.
Your Honor, I don't have any further questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wixom. Mr. Pryor, you may cross.
Good morning. Ma'am, can you tell me on a weekly basis how often you'd have contact with Tammy Daybell?
A handful of times.
What's a handful?
I worked in that building 2 to 3 days a week, so 2 to 3 days a week.
And for what length of time, the 2 or 3 days a week that you would work with her, would you have contact, meaning more than just a casual walk by?
Probably one time a week.
And when you had the one time a week actually that you would have this contact, was it just a brief hi? or was there discussion?
There was discussion.
And how long would that discussion take place once a week?
Anywhere from 5 to 20 to 30 minutes if we were eating lunch together.
Okay, and you had a habit of eating lunch with Tammy, is that right?
No, I did not.
Okay, so when would the 20 to 30 minutes, if you didn't eat lunch with her, come from then?
It was not a habit, but it happened in our time together.
Okay, and how often during your time together did you have time to sit down for 20 or 30 minutes and have these meaningful talks with Tammy?
If on the rare occasion that we ate lunch together, we would do that. She would come into my room in the mornings more often.
Okay.
I have 5 other women that work in my room, and she enjoyed spending time with them as well. We're all readers, as was she, and she loved to share book ideas with us, and she enjoyed to chat with the other women in my room and myself.
And in this relationship then, would Emma also be one of those to go in the books and do this as well?
Not when no, she was not working for me at that time. She was a 3rd grade teacher at that time.
Okay, and Tammy was the librarian, is that right?
Correct.
And would you agree with me, this is a relatively small school?
Yes.
And when I say small, how would you define small?
15 teachers of regular classes, myself, librarian, PE teacher, principal.
So not a significant amount of distance between one end of the school and the other end of the school. Would that be fair?
That would be pretty subjective, I guess.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that you didn't share the same relationship with Emma that you shared with Tammy in terms of contact?
I probably have a closer relationship with Emma.
Now?
Yes, I still consider Emma my friend.
Okay. But at the time, these once a week meetings of a significant amount of time were with Tammy though, right?
Correct.
And you would describe Tammy as someone who was a bit of an introvert?
Objection, Your Honor. That misstates testimony.
Overruled. It's just a leading question.
Would you consider Tammy a little bit of an introvert?
No, she was a very friendly person. She felt very comfortable in our school, and among our colleagues. We're a very close, tight-knit school, and she always felt very comfortable around all of our colleagues.
So you would then say she was an outgoing person?
At school, yes, which is where I knew her.
Okay. And this outgoing person who had met with you once a week would talk about books, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Would talk about what's going on in the school.
Sure.
And then at that time when you were having meetings and doing these once a week meetings with Tammy, you weren't at the same time doing the same thing with Emma, right?
Not at the same time because Emma was in her classroom.
Okay. But at some point, were you doing the same thing, meeting with Emma once a week and spending these deep, meaningful discussions with her as well?
Emma is my friend. So
Okay.
I would have discussions with her like I would any other friend.
Okay. And this close friend, you describe Emma as a close friend?
Yes.
And this close friend decided with another person that she works with at a school is going to confide in her a very private issue about her mother's.
Objection, argumentative, Your Honor.
Sustained.
So are you suggesting that Emma would share with you a very private issue about her mother's death? Is that what you're suggesting?
It wasn't a private issue. Her mother had passed away and she was sharing the cause.
Well, don't you consider that a private issue?
Objection, argumentative,
No.
Your Honor.
Okay, nothing else, Judge. Thank you.
All right, well, I'm not going to rule on that objection. Those questions and answers will stand. Mr. Wixom, if you'd like to redirect, you may.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Okay, that will conclude the testimony of the witness then. Is there